near side, dangles around the defender, shoots, big blocker save. And now we're going to get some fisticuffs thrown around here. Episode number 2. Everybody liked last week's episode, getting some good reviews, and we are back for another edition of the Blizz Show Podcast Player Profile, brought to you by our friends at H&R Block here in town. Weston DeWitt, the play-by-play voice of the Brookings Blizzard. We appreciate you guys tuning in on YouTube and listening on Spreaker. Today's guest is none other than Mr. Haiden Karnick. Last week was Brendan Aird. How you doing, Brendan? There's a mistake. We started out last week with a mistake. Now this is my one mistake. I think that's going to become a common thing. But Haiden, how you doing today, man? Good?
Yeah, doing great, man.
Good. Good practice out there today?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So kind of give us your assessment so far before we get into kind of just like your childhood and how you grew up and where you grew up exactly. Just kind of give us what you thought of the preseason games and looking forward to the showcase this week.
My thoughts? Sure. I thought as a team, preseason, I thought we were fantastic. I thought coming out against one of our biggest rivals and a team that's predicted to run the league this year, Aberdeen, I thought we actually had a fantastic showing. We went 1-1 over the weekend, and honestly, I thought it was a really good first step for a good season.
So personally, you didn't score any points, unfortunately, but you were flying all over the ice. I mean, especially here on the Friday game, you were in the dirty areas, getting those pucks out of the corners, doing what you do best, which is a power forward. How did you feel you played individually in your games this weekend?
Personally, I thought the first game was a little bumpy for me. I wasn't feeling my best, although I thought I had a good showing for sure.
Okay.
Second game, I thought I was a little bit more in my rhythm as far as my power forward stance as a player. And I thought I performed pretty well for the second game. Overall, the weekend was pretty well for me.
Okay, so here on the Blizz Show Podcast, last week you guys heard Brendan Aird stored from top to bottom. We're going to start here with Haiden Karnick, the hometown Parkland, Florida. Now, it's nice, guys, to have someone relate to me because I'm an Arizona kid. I enjoy the warm weather, and he sympathizes with me that it's going to be cold here in a few months, and we're both not looking forward to that. Can I put that accurately? Is that correct?
It's definitely pretty accurate. Not looking forward to the wind bursts and the negative degree weather, that's for sure.
But we do love the town of Brookings, and that is a fact. We love all the fans and everything. So let's get started with your childhood. So you grew up in Long Island, New York. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct.
So describe what that was like. I mean, you had the Islanders there playing relatively close at the Nassau Coliseum. You may have had a chance to go to some games there. Just kind of talk about what it was like growing up in Long Island.
Sure. Well, I'll start off by saying, ironically, I didn't even start playing hockey when I was living there.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually never really got to take advantage of all the amazing hockey teams around me, the Rangers and the Islanders all right there. And I wasn't even interested in hockey until I actually wound up moving to Florida. But living in Long Island was great. I had a pretty nice childhood. I grew up playing, soccer and baseball. Primarily baseball was my sport at the time. But it was only when I moved to Florida is when I started playing hockey, which was the pretty funny part.
Okay. So if you guys are watching this on audio right now, you can see a fly on his forehead. That fly is going to be distracting us this whole podcast, but we will make sure for those listening in audio, we will keep it as clear as possible. But, kind of following up from that, so when you got into hockey, what was kind of like your mentality? Like, did you really think you could be playing at the collegiate level when you were a kid or playing professionally? What were your thoughts about playing hockey as a kid?
Wow. Honestly, growing up playing hockey, like when I first started playing hockey, it wasn't really like, oh, I want to play travel hockey. Ooh, I want to, be a pro hockey player.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was the fact that, my cousin was my biggest inspiration to wanting to play in the first place. It was the one sport that really just held my interest the most and always made me want to play more. I love playing sports. I'm pretty athletic, I'd like to think, but, hockey was always the thing I liked playing the most. And when I moved to Florida, it was like a weird spur of time where I just wanted to keep skating and skating and skating. My parents were finally like, do you want to play hockey? I was like, yeah.
That is kind of strange, though, kind of going from a market like New York to Florida and wanting to play hockey in like a tropical kind of climate. That is interesting, but you know what? That's the kind of what happened with me when I moved to Arizona. Hockey play-by-play, that's the thing that I wanted to do most. So it's just those tropical climates that make the hockey people kind of come out.
They bring out the hockey in all of it.
Exactly, because we like putting on flip-flops after practice instead of bundling up with 3 coats.
It's always nice to go to the beach after you're in the ice rink.
Oh, that is so true, man. That is so true. But so let's you mentioned your cousin as kind of your inspiration to play hockey. You mentioned that. Was that the kind of person that you looked up to the most growing up, or was there someone else in your life that is just like kind of have always stuck with you, that is your biggest inspiration in your life?
this might be a little cliche. I mean, yeah, he definitely inspired me to play hockey, but the people I looked up to the most, and again, it's cliche, but definitely my parents. You know, my parents have always been there for me in every, good and bad situation. And, I've always aspired to have their patience with so many different things that they've had to deal with me. So as far as someone I've been inspired to be like, or not be like, but just inspired, period, have inspired me is definitely my parents.
If when they get their hands on this and they see you talking to them right now, what's the one thing you want to tell them right now?
I love you guys. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me, and I couldn't ask for better parents.
Break out the tissues, man. That's good stuff right there, Haiden. I love it. So let's transition. You had a good childhood in Long Island, and then you moved, come into high school. So when did you move to Parkland, Florida, first of all?
So I moved to Parkland when I was about 6, going into, second grade, so 6 years old.
So you're now in Florida for high school, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so describe what high school was like, playing high school hockey or when you made the transition to junior hockey. Describe that for me.
So I primarily played a lot of my career through high school in Florida, unlike a lot of my friends who moved away when they were much younger. So I was the only freshman to make my my varsity team at the time.
Wow,
which is a pretty big accomplishment for me. And I played on a team with some pretty good guys at the time. Florida hockey's not supposed to be too good, but the guys we had on our team were pretty spectacular for sure. Like we had guys on that specific team. Chase Prisky's he's the captain at Quinnipiac, and just a lot of guys have broken out from that team. So growing up in that environment and seeing the focus of some of the guys on that team definitely kind of inspired me to keep going with it and keep getting better. Were
you relatively close to where the Florida Panthers play or the Tampa Bay Lightning? Which place were you closer to, Tampa or Fort Lauderdale, where they play?
Oh, definitely Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
The Florida Panthers rink is about 20 minutes from my house. So.
Did they have any impact growing up on you in high school, like just kind of going to watch them, or was there a player on there that you looked up to? We kind of talk about that for a minute.
Sure. Actually, it's a pretty funny story. I wouldn't say involved, but I kind of got interested in the Florida Panthers at a very young age because the neighborhood that I lived in actually housed a lot of the players.
Wow.
So at the time when I was growing up, before I was actually really big into hockey, we had guys like Olli Jokinen and Ville Peltonen and Rustislav Olash living in there. And it's actually funny. I have 2 stories. If we have time, I can explain.
Absolutely. Let's hear them.
So Ville Peltonen, former player of the Panthers, both his sons also still play hockey. But when we were young, they didn't speak a lick of English.
Yeah.
But they would just come over and they would just bang on my door at 7 in the morning and be like, "Yo, come play hockey." But, they didn't really say that. They were just like, "Stick, yes, let's go." So it was, that was a lot of fun growing up playing with them. And then I think the funniest story at a young age was with Olli Jokinen, the captain at the time.
That guy seems like a character.
Oh, I mean, he was a great guy. Let me tell you, really just a beauty of a guy. So I was about 7 or 8 years old. I was literally roller skating down the street, just a normal day, normal Sunday. And I'm walking by Oli's house, and he's freaking out. He's in a suit, standing next to his nice car. He's flipping out. He has no idea what's going on. Me and my buddy are just I have no idea why he's doing that. So we keep going down the street, and we see this little paper rolling through the street. We're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, right.
And we go and pick it up. It's a $3 million check.
No. No.
I swear to God.
$3 million check just laying in the street?
I swear to God. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
It was addressed to Olli. It was a $3 million, bonus, I guess.
So what happened? Did you, pick it up and give it to him? Or, what was that? What happened after that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been playing hockey for a year or two now at this point, so I knew who he was.
Yeah.
It was pretty, we don't really, say anything to him, but it's more just hey. But when we picked up this check, we're all right, we got to give it to him.
Right.
So I picked it up. I went over to him. I gave it to him. And obviously he was incredibly happy that I had just handed him his $3 million check. So to thank me, he invited me over the next morning for breakfast with his family. And it was literally I walked in, we had waffles. I met his wife, his kids, and he showed me his whole room of accomplishments, trophies, awards, all that stuff. And after that, when I'd see him, he'd always say hi to me. It was almost like I had a personal relationship with the captain of the Panthers at the time.
Wow. So. Olli Jokinen, if you get your hands on this, Remember this face. He'll be getting to the collegiate level one day. But that is a tremendous story, man. That is a really, really cool story. So let's jump from high school to last season. So a little bit of a jump here, but you played with 3 different teams last year. So the Springfield Junior Blues, the New Jersey Rockets, and eventually finished out the year with the Blizzard here. Correct. So kind of just starting from the top, you started with Springfield, made the transition to New Jersey. Kind of just describe last year in a nutshell for you, what you feel like you learned the most, and maybe did you improve in certain aspects of your game that you wanted to when you started the season?
Sure. Well, junior hockey is always a tumble. You never know where it's going to go, and you never know where you're going to wind up. I started the year in Junior Blues, like you said. I had an incredible summer preparing for my first year to play in the North American Hockey League. And, unfortunately, things didn't work out there for me so early on. So I wound up going to play in the NCDC with the Jersey Rockets. And I played a couple of games there. It didn't really seem like a good fit for me, so I wound up leaving.
Okay.
And, like you said, I wound up playing with Brookings. And I think what I learned the most out of that season is just, no matter how bad things can seem or no matter how much you may want to quit, you got to just keep pushing forward because, there's always something on the other side. And I really can be a victim of hard work paying off because – as long as you just put your head down, you keep working hard and keep doing what you're supposed to do, someone's going to notice or something's going to work out your way. And I think that's one of the biggest things I kind of learned that throughout that entire year.
Okay. So coming into this year, you've had some experience last year. You've been in Brookings for a little bit of time now. Just kind of describe what you like the most about Brookings, the fans, just kind of walking around in the city, and just what has your experience been with Brookings so far?
Brookings, God, honestly, a lot of people, especially, the previous year, I've played in a small town before. I played in Canada at Cochrane. It was only 5,000 people. Coming to Brookings is like, going to a major city.
Yeah, right.
So coming here was actually pretty exciting for me. But overall, I love Brookings. I don't think I've met a rude person here yet.
Me neither.
Believe it or not. Everywhere I go, everyone's very, very nice. It's almost like living in Canada. Everyone's very, very nice, very friendly,
right.
And, it's just an awesome environment, As far as the weather, that's a different story.
We've had this conversation already.
Yes. As far but other than that, Brookings is fantastic, and I couldn't be happier to play anywhere else.
So this season, you guys we're really excited. Everybody here in Brookings is really excited to see what you guys are going to do this year. The showcase gets started tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. That game will be available on Hockey TV. And then their season opener will take place on the 28th of September, right behind us in Larson Ice Center here. So what are your biggest goals for this year that you want to improve upon the most?
I think this year, as a 20-year-old, someone who's going to age out and, go play college hockey next year, the biggest thing for me is just going to be playing consistently at the level that I know I can play at. Like playing a 200-foot game every single game, and just being the player that I can be every game. And then that's pretty much what I think is going to hopefully catapult me to where I want to be, which is at a collegiate level of hockey.
We talked about like you staying with things, like not giving up. You've kind of experienced that in your hockey career, but the biggest thing you've ever learned in your hockey career is what?
Honestly, I'd say just kind of going back to what I was talking about, just honestly like learning how to mentally just be strong at all times.
Yeah.
Because hockey, and I'd say all sports, but definitely hockey in my experience, can mentally, distract you and definitely just take you off your game. That's for sure. Mental health in this game, and just it's just such an important thing.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea.
How important is it, with that being said, how important is it on a serious level for guys like you and everybody in your locker room, and not just in your locker room, but like junior hockey the world over, or people who are involved in sports like hockey or combat sports, boxing, UFC, for example? How important is it for guys your age to really learn about this stuff moving forward?
It's beyond important because, most guys will look at mental health or hear about mental health and not really think much of it. Like, oh, that's never going to bother me, or that's never going to affect me personally. Like, it really can, and it really will. And you may not even know it until you do. And maybe you don't. But, being able to learn and having an open mind and being able to identify when you actually might have a mental health problem. And when I say mental health, it's not catastrophic problems, but
yeah.
It's just the little things in your mind that can really affect you beyond your belief, performance-wise, everything. So I think having a knowledge of it is very important, and being aware of it, it's definitely an important thing, not just on hockey, but in every athletic sport, or really in life in general.
Yeah.
So.
And I want to say, just from man to man, I commend you for talking about that, because for a 20-year-old to talk about that it's difficult. It's difficult to open up and talk about serious issues like that. But for a young man as yourself, you should be very proud of that, and I think that's a testament to your parents of how they raised you. So if they're watching, you raised a good one here. So let's have some fun here. But before we do that, support for the Blizz Show podcast is brought to you by our friends, as I mentioned off the top, by H&R Block. Now, the tax reform will affect everyone's next tax return, and everybody knows that. If you don't want to be surprised at tax time next year, make sure you guys go visit H&R Block to find out how it will affect you. Now, if you're in the Brookings and Watertown area, new clients can go visit Wayne, and be sure to tell them that Weston sent you, and you get 25% discount off of your first tax preparation. H&R Block in Brookings is located at the University Mall, and for more information, you can call this number at 605-692-5715. Once again, that's 605-692-5715. All right, we mentioned it. We are going to do one last thing before we get on out of here for the day, and he's got a meeting to get to because he's also leaving for the showcase tomorrow, as we all are. We are very excited for that. As I mentioned, you guys can watch those games on Hockey TV. I'll be on the broadcast for those. So let's have a little bit of fun here. Rapid fire time. First thing that comes to your mind, 10 questions, can be anything related, and I did put them together, so I'm excited for this one.
Sure.
Okay, so before this ties into something that I saw on your Instagram account. You took some really good pictures in suits, your last couple of pictures. So with having said that, the first two questions are based off, you seem like a suit connoisseur in kind of a sense. So best brand of suit in the world is what?
You're going to hit me with that? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Oh, man. That is so tough.
Yeah.
That really is. I'd say Hugo Boss.
That's what I was going to say. I got a black one and a gray one of those, and I'm going to be rocking those at the showcase. That's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Hugo Boss, good call. And then the last follow-up is Men's Warehouse or Joseph A. Bank. Which place do you prefer to go to?
How are you going to hit me with that after Hugo Boss?
Yeah, that's true. I should have prepared that better. Jeez.
I say Joseph A. Bank, I guess.
Ooh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, personally,
yeah.
I mean, I can understand the Men's Warehouse. But I have a friend who's a general manager at Joseph A. Bank.
That's why you said that. Okay, you're such a nice guy, man. You really are. Okay, so next question: who would play you in a movie if you were to star in a movie? I asked Brendan this question last week, and he said Mark Wahlberg, which was a good answer. But who would play Haiden Karnick in a movie?
Oh man, these are tough.
Yeah.
Who would play me? God, that's a good question. Who's a good guy with a beard?
We're going to have to come back to that. This is rapid fire after all. We're killing time.
Yeah, I'll think about that.
Yeah, I will ask that next time. Okay, favorite song that gets you going the most before a game?
I'd say probably Clarity by Zed.
Good song. Best summer activity when you go back to Florida?
Oh, boating in general.
That's a good one.
Anything boating, yeah.
You mentioned baseball, but aside baseball and hockey, what's the other sport that you like to watch the most on TV?
I get the most entertainment probably watching basketball.
Oh, really? Yeah. LeBron or Jordan? I was going to ask that question.
Jordan.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I personally agree with that as well. Okay, number 7, morning, afternoon, or night person? Which one are you?
Definitely a night person.
Okay, I'm not a morning person, so I'm glad you didn't say morning. If you were trapped on a desert island and could have one snack, what would it be?
That's another good question. One snack. Probably just some like salami and cheese, man. I don't know.
You're such a healthy guy, man. Oh, this guy's unbelievable. I like it though. I actually like it. I wasn't expecting you to say chips or anything, but because you look like you're in shape. So
I'm a big salami and cheese guy. Like just like night snack, or actually, can I change my answer?
Absolutely.
Big loaf of banana bread.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
Oh man, now you got me hungry. Yeah. Okay, question number 9: Crocs or flip-flops? Being the Florida guy.
Absolutely flip-flops. Yep. Not even a question in my mind.
My sister-in-law is going to be watching this and going, oh, what is this guy talking about? Last question before we actually have to answer the question of who would play you in a movie. One place you've always wanted to vacation in your life is where?
Ibiza.
That's good.
Or Hawaii.
I did go to Hawaii in 2008. That is a really nice place. You're going to like that place. Yeah. And now you got to answer the question. Who would play Haiden Karnick in a movie? I got to think about this too. We may.
So tough.
Okay. I mean, who's your favorite actor?
I love Matthew McConaughey, but I couldn't see him playing.
Yeah, he's got too much of an accent in the Texas side of things to play you in my. But he's a good actor. I mean, maybe if you grow a little hair, grow a beard, maybe Leo DiCaprio possibly.
I can see it.
Let's go with Leo DiCaprio.
That's a big one, but sure. Yeah.
That's a good answer, and I like that. We're going to roll with Leo DiCaprio. All right, guys, we really do appreciate you guys tuning in for the Blizz Show podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spreaker. But before we go, Brendan Aird failed to answer this question. He had to pull out his phone and look at where he follows and where to follow him on social media. But, Haiden, where can people follow you on Instagram, and where can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me on Instagram. My username's HaidenK_22. And then my Twitter is at HaidenJK.
That's perfect. See, that's not so hard to answer, is it, Brendan? No, just kidding. He's going to give me so much flack for this. All right, guys, we really do appreciate you tuning in for the Blizz Show podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe, as I mentioned, to YouTube. Follow on Twitter at Blizzard_hockey. Follow me at Weston DeWitt. We'll be posting stuff all week long from the showcase in Blaine, Minnesota. We will be back next week on Tuesday for a hockey edition, and then next Thursday for a player profile edition. Haiden, great stuff, man. Really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for coming. Appreciate
Absolutely,
it.
Man.
All right. That's Haiden Karnick, folks. Make sure you guys tune in next week. We'll see you then.